Ahoy, this is Zdenka. More S24 Ultra tips and tricks will be covered in this video. How to film in Pro Video mode and what are the best camera settings in Pro Video mode. There is lots to cover, from automatic filming to manual. This video has been brought to you by Skillshare, an online community with thousands of great classes for creators. Filming in Pro Video mode might seem extremely confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let me show you how to film in automatic mode first and explain all these icons you see. I'm going to start with the left side. The first icon on the left is where you can control the look of your clip. This feature is only available in FHD and HD, so if you see it grayed out, it's because you have resolution set to UHD, which is 4K or 8K. Once you enable this feature, you are able to control contrast, highlights, shadows, saturation, and tint to get a desired look. To be honest, I don't use that feature. I prefer color correcting the footage once I record the video. It's the same thing. Let's hit the resolution icon. The highest resolution offered is 8K. Those are massive files. I only film in 8K if I want to make a massive crop in the files. Most of the time, 4K footage is just enough. In 8K, you can film in 30 and 24 frames per second. UHD is next, that would be 4K. FHD is 1080p. Both resolutions will let you film in 120, 60, 30, and 24 frames per second. HD or 720p is the smallest resolution. That one is ideal if you really want to save on space. This one will allow you to film only at 30 frames per second. I'm going to go back to UHD, which is 4K, and select 24 frames per second. That is what I use most of the time. Next we have resolution. The video you're watching right now is filmed in 16:9 resolution. Other options you have here are full, 1:1, 21:9, that gives you a nice wide look, and again at the bottom is 16:9. Let's keep it there. Flashlight is the next icon. You can enable always flash on, automatic, or you can disable it. I'm going to keep that disabled. I would use this only if you really have no other light source. It is always better to use other available light sources or bring additional lights. Let's stay away from the settings for now. I'm going to explain them later. At the top left corner is histogram. When you tap on that, you can make it bigger or smaller. Histogram shows if your image is overexposed, that means too bright, or underexposed, that means too dark. Ideally, you want to keep the curve nicely in the middle. If it is way too much on the left, that means black is crushed. If it is way too much on the right, you get overblown highlights. Audio levels are displayed at the bottom left. Let's go to the right side. The first setting is the microphone. When you tap on that, you can change how the sound is being recorded. Omni is by default, and that means that the sound is being recorded from the rear and front microphone. Other options are recording only from the front, only from the rear. If you have USB microphone, you can connect it here. Bluetooth microphone is another option. And lastly, Bluetooth mix. On the right is where you can adjust the strength. If you found the sound is too loud, you can lower it. Or the opposite, you can bring it up a bit. Always make sure the audio monitor doesn't get too red though. For now, let's keep it at 0. White balance is next. Right now I'm explaining how to film in automatic mode, so let's keep white balance set to auto. If you click the auto, that is how you change it to manual. If you click again, now it's locked in automatic mode. Let's talk about the focus. There are 3 options there. Center uses the center of the image as the main focal point. Multi, that will focus on multiple areas and try to get the whole image in focus. And lastly, manual, that lets you choose what you want in focus. What will be in focus, you will see green focus peak on the screen. If you want to go back to automatic, just select center or multi. I like to keep it on the center. You can also tap on the screen and select your object you always want to be in focus. The little square will show up, and now when you move the camera, you can see that it stays focused on the subject. EV stands for exposure value. If you find the video is too bright, you can bring it down a bit. Smartphones typically overexpose a bit, so it's always a good idea to bring it a tiny bit down on very bright days. Minus 0.3 is good in this case. You just want to make sure no highlights are overblown. Speed is next. A means it is set to automatic. Again, if you tap the auto, you will switch it to manual, and the same goes with ISO. So let's make sure white balance is set to automatic, speed, and ISO. At this point, you are ready to film in automatic mode. There are 3 ways you can film. You can bring the EV tiny bit down to make sure the highlights are not overexposed and just press record. The focus is automatic in the center. If you want to select an object that will always stay in focus, you just click on the object. You will see the square that will follow the object and start recording. The problem here though is that if I'm going to film and point at something dark and then bright, it will automatically adjust the brightness, so the video will be getting brighter and then darker. If you want a more consistent look, you would use the last option. Leave the exposure value at 0 and lock focus and brightness yourself. I'm going to tap in the center and hold. Now, AF, AE will show up. There is a lock there, so it's locked. I will keep the locked focus in the center, but I will move the exposure AE to the brightest area of the image. Now, the picture looks good, so I can go ahead and film. As you can see, it is more consistent. The video looks much more professional. I can hit the pause, choose a different location, and keep recording. I can avoid all the editing in the post and have this as one long video. I have a quick tip for you. If you will be filming, for example, with a wide lens, and then you switch to telephoto and see that the picture is just wrong, it looks way too bright. It's because speed is most likely set to manual filming. You have to make sure each lens is set to automatic setting when it comes to speed and ISO. When I will get into explaining how to film in manual mode, yes, each lens needs to be set separately. I hope you're starting to understand Pro Video mode. This was filming in automatic mode. If you're enjoying this tutorial, then you might also enjoy more smartphone filmmaking classes at Skillshare, such as Smartphone Cinematography 101. Learn to shoot cinematic mobile video with filmmaker Blake. What is Skillshare? It is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts in fields such as illustration, graphic design, photography, music, marketing, productivity, and more. They also offer learning paths, so you don't have to look for those classes to master the skill. For example, if you want to grow your first YouTube channel, they already have the whole set of 6 classes combined together. I personally enjoyed mastering AI marketing, ChatGPT for creative entrepreneurs by LEMS, AI creator, and camera addict. ChatGPT is fairly new to me, and marketing is something I really need to know in my field. So it was interesting to see how ChatGPT can help in this aspect. It can really speed your work. I found it quite interesting. If you want to check this out, the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. Are you ready for manual settings? Let me explain it simply. Let's first set white balance. It is best to select manual white balance, as this will give you a much nicer result. If you leave it on auto, wherever you're going to move, the colors will slightly adjust on its own. You can see the white balance number changing all the time as I'm moving the camera around. For daytime sunny days, select 5500 Kelvin. When you move the ring, you can see that the sun is next to it. For an overcast day, select 6500 Kelvin, 4000 Kelvin is for moonlight, and 2800 Kelvin is for standard lamp light. I'm going to stay with 5500 Kelvin for the daytime. Let's select the next one. That would be shutter speed. I am filming in 24 frames per second. 24 times 2 is 48. I will drag the slider. I cannot select 1/48th speed, so the closest I can get is 1/50th. If I would have my frame rate set to 30 frames per second, again, 30 times 2 is 60, so I would set the shutter speed to 1/60th. If I had 60 frames per second selected, I cannot select 1/120th, but the closest I can select is 1/125th. If I was filming in 120 frames per second, I cannot set 1/240th, so I have to select the closest again, that is 1/250th. Let's go back to 24 frames per second and select 1/50th shutter speed. So the shutter speed has been set. The last thing I have to set is ISO. ISO is the camera's sensitivity to light. It's like our eyes. When we go outside, it's way too bright, we kind of close the eyes to fight the brightness. The more light you get, the lower number you will use. The less light you will get, the higher number you will use. It's the opposite. So for filming daytime outdoors, you will go with the lowest ISO possible, that is 50. Now the image is way too bleached, so you need to bring it down with the help of an ND filter that works as sunglasses and turn it until you get properly exposed shots. If you will be filming indoors, you won't need to use an ND filter. If you will be filming in darker conditions or night, you will need to bring the ISO up. I have covered camera settings in previous S24 Ultra tutorials. I'm gonna link the whole playlist below the video in a video description. But for those who are new here, let's go through camera settings in Pro Video mode. Intelligent optimization affects photos only, so let's skip that. Let's scroll to selfies. Here, let's keep safe selfies as previewed off, because once you mix footage with rear cameras, the image will be already flipped. So let's keep that off. Swipe up and down to switch the camera is on by default, and that is good. In the video section, video stabilization is on. Let's go to advanced video options. The best video quality you're going to get with HEVC high efficiency format if you select prioritize video quality, and below you also enable high bitrate videos. If you like HDR look, you can enable HDR 10 plus videos. If you end up having trouble with this HEVC format, you can switch it to H.264 format. That is most compatible. Here though, you cannot select high bitrate videos or HDR 10 plus videos. If you use Bluetooth headphones, you can take advantage of 360 audio recording. Let's return to main camera settings. Under general tracking, autofocus is on. That keeps the object in a focus. Grid lines help with composition, so I highly recommend turning it on. Location tags are on. In the shooting methods, you can choose what your volume button does. You can also enable voice comments and show palm to start and stop recording. Let's return again. Settings to keep, I have all enabled. Next time you open up the camera app, everything you had set last time will show up again. It will not reset to default settings. Vibration feedback I have also enabled. There is one more section called Camera Assistant. It is there because I downloaded this app through the Galaxy Store. Some people mentioned that it's not available in certain countries, so if you don't see it in Galaxy Store, unfortunately it might be your case. Once you download this app, you will see it here in the settings, and that will give you access to more camera features. When it comes to Pro Video mode, you can enable DOF adapter correction if you will be using one. If you use anamorphic lens, you can enable anamorphic lens correction depending on the lens you have. You can enable audio monitoring so you can listen to the sound as you are recording through Bluetooth, HDMI, USB headphones, or speakers. You can control camera timeout and dim screen while recording. You can select when you want the screen to dim. Lastly, you can enable clean preview on HDMI displays without the settings or buttons shown on the display. Give it a thumbs up if this video helped you understand Pro Video Mode, and don't forget to subscribe for more S24 Ultra tutorials. Let me know in the comments section below what S24 Ultra tutorials you would like to see, what do you struggle with, what do you want to learn. I have placed more videos here for you to check out. See you there. Ciao, ahoj.